Now, earlier today, President Trump reversed a decision to allow transgender individuals to openly serve in the military, in America's armed forces. Now, that, of course, reverses the Obama administration's decision that would actually allow them to serve openly and to have the military help them transition. So, obviously, that is a huge reversal on LGBT rights. Now, in a series of tweets, he outlined his reasons for overturning that policy. He said, after consultation with my generals and military experts, please be advised that the United States government, please be advised, okay, that the United States government will not accept or allow transgender individuals to serve in any capacity in the U.S. military. Our military must be focused on decisive and overwhelming victory and cannot be burdened with the tremendous medical costs and disruption that transgender in the military would entail. Now, that first part, that didn't sound like Trump, but that last part, totally Trump. Tremendous medical costs. Disruption, bigly. In the military, it would entail. Okay, so, first of all, let me say, really? A tremendous medical cost? Are you sure? Look, there's only a few thousand, people who are transgender in the military. And the military has a budget of over $600 billion. In fact, Trump's recent budget asks for even more spending. So an extra $50 billion, 50 to 70 billion, depending on which budget you go for, extra on top of the $650 billion, on top of the $600 billion that we already spend on the Pentagon. Hey man, where's all that money going? Seems like we've got a lot of money. It's not going to transgender, surgery or transitioning transgender people in the military. That's not where it's going, Chief. No. It's going, a lot of it is going to defense contractors for crappy boondoggle projects like that 35, which costs over $1 trillion. But see, this isn't about the money. It's never been about the money. We've got all sorts of money. We got, again, billions, hundreds of billions of dollars going to the Pentagon every year. It's also not about, we got to be decisive and overwhelming victory. No, it's not about that either. What this is simply being against the trans community. As simple as that. I think that if they want to serve and they meet the physical requirements, they should be allowed to serve. So why did they make the decision? Well, for that, I go to the Washington Post. They write that the missive comes after Trump's defense secretary, retired General Jim Mattis, delayed the implementation of the plan to accept transgender troops by 6 months. This decision came one day before the deadline for the military to update its medical standards to accommodate transgender service members. Oh, look at the timing on that. Oh, 1 day. We had 1 day. Couldn't do it. 1 day. Okay. That's, again, look at the timing on that. Okay. It's amazing. It's super brazen. You could tell, like, oh, no, we got to put stop to it now. We got to stop it now. Stop. We don't want those transgender people in our military, says Donald Trump. Now, look, I understand if they needed a little extra time to help set this up, but they already had a delay of 6 months. You would think that would help them set up to help soldiers transition who are transgender. But no, that's not what's happening. The delay is not because of that. Let me tell you what it was about. Now, the Post explains the 6-month delay was requested by the Joint Chiefs of Staff and would allow further review of how allowing transgender recruits to serve would affect the lethality of the military. So now, that's according to a memo Mattis had sent earlier. Now, Mattis also said last month, he said, since becoming Secretary of Defense, I have emphasized the Department of Defense must measure each policy decision against one critical standard. Will the decision affect the readiness and lethality of that force? So again, he's using the, we got to make sure our military is effective. And we don't know if those transgender people are up to the job, which is very insulting, actually. He continues, put another way, how will the decision affect the military, the ability of America's military to defend the nation? It is against the standard that I provide the following guidance on the way forward in accessing transgender individuals into the military services. So basically, what Mattis is saying is that we don't think those transgender people will stack up. We don't think they're going to be lethal enough in the military. Now, that kind of goes back to the example of girly men, right? Like, oh, if you're a man transitioning to a woman and you're a girly man, you're not going to be as lethal, you're not going to be as effective. That's ridiculous. You do realize that trans women can actually kick ass. They're still able to kick someone's ass. They're still able to be trained in military techniques and use weapons and rifles and have good marksmanship, right? It's basically like saying, well, if you transition into a woman, you become soft and weak, and you know, because they're a lesser sex. That, like, okay, that's super transphobic and actually incredibly sexist. Now, again, it's like saying that, again, women are soft and weak and they can't fight in the front lines. Well, okay. First of all, again, this is banning them from all different services, not just the front lines. And by the way, on the front lines thing, tell the women, the Kurdish women who are on the front lines fighting ISIS that they're soft and weak. They'll laugh in your face. Okay? But again, it's not about the front lines. If you want to keep women or trans women off the front lines, well, I'm going to disagree with you on that. And some of you might not disagree with that. And you can cite different reasons. For example, abuse, rape, physical requirements. Okay, I hear you, and you could have a debate about that, right? About the merits of allowing females on the front lines. Okay, but again, this isn't about the front lines. This bans transgender people who are openly transgender from serving in all capacities. That's logistics, support, IT, stuff that doesn't involve the front lines. Now, what makes a trans person less capable of doing any of those jobs? Whether you be, you know, male to female, female to male. What makes you less qualified? I can't find a reason. Now, I don't know. Maybe some people might be concerned, or they might put out the, you know, a concern like, oh, but look at all the money that we're going to spend. And these people might just join up so they can get a free trans surgery, which sounds crazy to me, but okay. If you're going to go with that, then how is that any different from somebody going to get a free college education? They're getting something free, right? But no, they're actually not, because they're putting in their service. They're still serving in the military in some capacity. They're serving their country. So that argument doesn't even hold up. So again, this is, again, ridiculous arguments, right? And they can't really come up with an actual real reason to defend this, because at this point it's pretty indefensible. Okay, so how does this going to affect people who are already in the military that are openly transgender? Well, right now, according to numbers, there are some estimates place the number as high as 11,000 people in the reserved and active duty military, according to Rand Corp. So they looked at how many transgender people are in the different military branches and in the reserves, and they found about 11,000. Now again, back to the money argument. You think 11,000 people who decide they want to get, help transitioning through the military, through their health program, you think that's going to bankrupt the health program? You think that's going to bankrupt the military, where we spend about, again, over $600 billion a year? Ridiculous. But what's going to happen to them? Well, for that, I go to Brad Carson. Now, Carson is a former congressman who worked on transgender policy deliberations under the Obama administration when they came up with, hey, you know what? Let's let transgender people serve in the military openly. And, you know, he looked at that, and he told the Washington Post on Wednesday that what Trump is doing is basically rolling back these implemented policies. And in doing so, it will, as a result, force out several hundred openly transgender service members out of the military. They're gone. He said that this will be a personal tragedy for them, but it will also be a professional loss for the military. And it's going to invite litigation that will distract the Department of Defense for months, if not years to come. So, look, there's a lot of pro-LGBT groups that are like, hey, man, if you try to do this, we are going to sue the shit out of you. And that's exactly what's going to happen. Now, the result of that is that this could actually lead the Department of Defense having less to do, the Pentagon having less to do with this, and it being more left up to courts. So that's very interesting. Now, Carson, again, predicted that by saying that courts could have a larger hand in how deciding transgender policy in the military, and that the Pentagon will lose some of its say in implementation. So, again, who wanted this? Because I'm not convinced that this is a 100% Trump thing. Trump doesn't give a fuck about transgender people. He doesn't care. He doesn't care one way or another, okay? He's not their friend. He's also not, or at least until this, wasn't explicitly their enemy. So, who got him to do this? Again, we don't necessarily know. But we do know whoever got into his ear said, hey, you know, it'd be great if we could ban the transgenders from the military. That'd be fantastic. And he's like, oh, yeah, great idea. Yeah, we'll do that. He's an idiot. Now, one thing that he said about the tweets is that the Joint Chiefs were involved. Well, that's actually, well, that might not be true. Carson said he talked to every single Joint Chief when he was working on the transgender policy, and none of them were actually in favor of a full ban, which is what this is. I said, here's the threshold question. Do you want to separate transgender service members? Do you want to do that? And every single one of them said, no, Carson said. Now, maybe we can disagree about the fine points of accession policy or what kind of health care is provided, but that question of whether we should be separating able, competently serving service members, every single one of them said no. Now, that's very interesting. Now, I would tend to believe the chiefs, because it would be hard to believe that while they were drafting this policy, that they were like, oh, no ban. And then 6 months later, they're like, ban. Yes, let's go along with what Donald Trump says. No, I don't believe that. If they were against it, surely they would have been against it during the original discussions, as far as I can tell. So either they changed their minds, or Trump is lying. What do you believe? Now, there's one more thing I found interesting about this. And this is from the Post. Following Mattis's announcement last month, Aaron Balkin, director of the Palm Center, a think tank that has helped the Pentagon research transgender people serving in the military, released a statement condemning this move. Now, they did this research, and here's what they found. For the past year, transgender troops have been serving openly and have been widely praised by their commanders. As in the case in 18 allied militaries around the world, including Israel and Britain, yet members of Congress are denigrating the value of military service by transgender troops, and service chiefs are pressuring Secretary Mattis to continue the transgender enlistment ban, despite having no new arguments or data to back up their long discredited assertions. In light of success of transgender military service, the extensive research confirming that inclusive policy promotes readiness, and the sad history of don't ask, don't tell, loyally serving transgender troops deserve to know whether Secretary Mattis stands by the claim he made at his confirmation hearing that LGBT troops can indeed serve in a lethal military. Stonewalling on full inclusion will, just like don't ask, don't tell, compromise military readiness. So, look, he references all these different studies that are like, yeah, transgender people in the military, it's fine. We still have a lethal military. In fact, when you're more inclusive, people are ready. When you give people the proper care, like people who have gender dysphoria, when they make sure that these people have the adequate care, they'll be more ready and able to serve and be able to serve at a higher capacity. But see, it's not about this. It's not about any of that. What it is that sadly, I think it's all about being transphobic. And there's a reason. Because Donald Trump is trying to please his base, evangelicals. In the election, 80% of evangelicals went for Donald Trump. So that's his base. And so this is a guy who's always thinking about, well, how do I make sure that I win? I want to win. Well, my base hates the transgenders. I don't really care one way or the other about them. So what I'm going to do is be like, I'm going to listen to them, and I'm going to listen to, people like Mike Pence, my VP, and I'm going to listen to all the other hateful people that are around me that don't like transgender people, and I'm just going to follow what they do. because that's going to allow me to have a win with the people who voted me into office. And again, that's evangelicals, right? And so basically it's the entire policy rollback is discriminatory, it's hateful, it's transphobic. And the worst part of it all, it's simply done for political purposes to pander to a base of an incredibly small base of very, very hateful, backwards people. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.